Have you ever felt like your entire world is being turned upside down for no apparent reason? Like the universe has decided to shuffle every single piece of your life, like a deck of cards, leaving you standing there wondering what the hell is actually happening. If you're watching this right now, chances are you're in the middle of one of those seasons, the kind where nothing feels stable anymore, where relationships are shifting, opportunities are dissolving, and everything you thought you could count on suddenly feels uncertain. But here's what most people don't realize. What looks like chaos from the inside is actually precision from a higher perspective. The universe isn't randomly destroying your life, it's strategically rearranging it. And if you can understand why this is happening and how to work with it instead of against it, everything changes. Right now, as you're listening to these words, there are invisible forces at work in your life. Quantum mechanics tells us that reality is far more fluid than we perceive. What feels like solid ground beneath your feet is actually energy in constant motion, responding to frequencies you're broadcasting without even knowing it. And when those frequencies shift, when your consciousness evolves beyond what your current circumstances can support, the universe has no choice but to rearrange everything to match your new vibrational signature. This isn't some mystical concept. This is how reality operates. Your external world is always trying to align with your internal state. But here's the catch. Most of the time, you're not conscious of the internal shifts happening within you. You're evolving, growing, expanding your awareness, but your ego mind is still trying to hold on to the old patterns, the familiar structures, the predictable routines. And that creates a tension that the universe resolves through what appears to be external disruption. Think about it this way. You've been living in a house that fit you perfectly 5 years ago, but you've grown. Your consciousness has expanded. Your desires have evolved. Your capacity for love, success, and authentic expression has increased dramatically. But you're still trying to squeeze yourself into that same old house. The universe looks at this situation and says, we need a bigger house. And so it begins the process of moving you out of spaces that no longer serve who you're becoming. But because we're not taught to see life this way, we experience this rearrangement as loss, as failure, as things falling apart. We resist it with everything we have. We try to force the old structures to work. We cling to relationships that have run their course. We stay in jobs that drain our soul. We maintain habits that keep us small. And the more we resist, the more intense the rearrangement becomes. The universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in circumstances. It communicates through synchronicities, through doors closing and opening, through people entering and leaving your life, through opportunities appearing and disappearing. And right now, it's having a very important conversation with you. It's saying, you're ready for more. You're ready for the life that matches who you've become. But first, we need to clear out what no longer fits. This is why certain people are suddenly feeling distant. This is why jobs that once excited you now feel suffocating. This is why places you used to love being no longer resonate. This is why habits that served you for years suddenly feel empty. Your frequency has shifted, and everything that can't match that new frequency is naturally falling away. But here's where it gets really interesting. The rearrangement isn't just random shuffling. There's an intelligence behind it that's far more sophisticated than your conscious mind could ever orchestrate. The universe is simultaneously removing what no longer serves you while positioning you for what's coming next. Those seemingly random encounters, those unexpected opportunities, those sudden inspirations, they're all part of a larger design that's aligning you with your highest timeline. Most people fight this process because they don't understand what's happening. They see the dissolution of familiar structures and assume something is wrong. They interpret the uncertainty as evidence that they're off track. They mistake the temporary discomfort of growth for permanent failure. But what if I told you that this rearrangement is actually the most loving thing the universe could do for you right now? What if those doors that are closing are protecting you from settling for less than you deserve? What if those relationships that are ending are making space for connections that will actually nourish your soul? What if that job you lost was the universe's way of freeing you to discover work that aligns with your true purpose? What if everything that feels like it's falling apart is actually falling into place? The people who understand this principle, who learn to work with the rearrangement instead of against it, they experience something remarkable. Instead of feeling like victims of circumstance, they start to feel like conscious participants in their own evolution. Instead of dreading change, They begin to trust it. Instead of clinging to what was, they start to get excited about what's becoming possible. But this requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to uncertainty. Most of us were taught that security comes from controlling our external circumstances. We believe that if we can just make everything predictable, if we can just lock down all the variables, then we'll be safe. But what if true security doesn't come from controlling your environment? What if it comes from trusting your ability to navigate whatever comes your way? The universe is rearranging your life because it knows something your conscious mind hasn't figured out yet. It knows that you're capable of so much more than what your current circumstances allow. It knows that you have gifts that need bigger stages to be expressed. It knows that you have love that needs deeper connections to be shared. It knows that you have a purpose that requires you to step out of the familiar and into the unknown. This rearrangement is happening because you're ready for it, whether you feel ready or not. Your soul has grown beyond what your current life can contain, and expansion is the only way forward. The question isn't whether this process is going to continue. The question is whether you're going to resist it or learn to dance with it. Because here's what I've discovered after years of studying how consciousness creates reality. The people who fight the rearrangement suffer unnecessarily. They exhaust themselves trying to force outdated structures to work. They miss the gifts that are trying to come through because they're so focused on what they're losing. But the people who learn to trust this process, who develop the courage to let go of what no longer serves them, they discover something incredible. They discover that the universe wasn't taking anything away from them. It was clearing space for something so much better that their old self could never have imagined it. They realized that what felt like destruction was actually construction. What looked like endings were actually beginnings. What seemed like chaos was actually perfect orchestration. And this is where the magic happens. When you stop fighting the rearrangement and start cooperating with it, you begin to see the intelligence behind it. You start noticing how every door that closed led you closer to the right door, how every person who left made room for someone who could actually see and appreciate who you're becoming, how every failure was actually redirection toward your true path. The universe operates on a timeline that your impatient mind can't always comprehend. It sees connections and possibilities that exist beyond your current perception. It's weaving together circumstances, people, and opportunities in ways that will blow your mind when you look back 6 months from now. But right now, in the middle of the rearrangement, all you can see is the dismantling. All you can feel is the uncertainty. This is the test. Can you trust the process when you can't see the outcome? Can you surrender control when everything feels chaotic? Can you maintain faith when the evidence suggests you should panic? Because your ability to navigate this rearrangement with grace determines not just how smoothly the transition happens, but what kind of reality you step into on the other side. The universe is asking you to become someone new, someone who doesn't need external validation to feel worthy, someone who doesn't need guaranteed outcomes to take inspired action, someone who doesn't need everyone to understand their choices to make them anyway. It's asking you to embody the person who naturally attracts the life you've been dreaming of. This is why the rearrangement feels so intense. You're not just changing your circumstances, you're changing your identity. You're shedding versions of yourself that served you in the past, but would limit you in the future. You're releasing beliefs that kept you safe, but small. You're letting go of patterns that felt comfortable, but were actually keeping you stuck. And here's what most people miss. The discomfort you're feeling isn't evidence that something's wrong. It's evidence that something's right. Growth has never been comfortable. Transformation has never been convenient. Evolution has never been easy, but it's always been worth it. So if you're in the middle of a life rearrangement right now, if everything feels uncertain and unstable, I want you to consider a different perspective. What if this isn't happening to you? What if it's happening for you? What if the universe loves you so much that it's willing to make your current reality uncomfortable so you'll finally step into the one you actually deserve? The people, opportunities, and experiences that are meant for your highest timeline are waiting for you. But they can't enter your life while you're still clutching onto what belongs to your old story. The universe needs you to make space. It needs you to trust. It needs you to let go of your death grip on how you think things should unfold and allow them to unfold how they need to. This rearrangement isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's not evidence that you're failing. It's proof that you're ready for something bigger. The universe doesn't invest this much energy in rearranging the lives of people who aren't meant for something extraordinary. It only orchestrates this level of transformation for souls who are ready to step into their true power. So breathe into the uncertainty, lean into the unknown, trust that what's leaving was always meant to be temporary, and what's coming is meant to last. The universe is clearing the stage for the most authentic, aligned, abundant version of your life to emerge. And that version of you, the one who's waiting on the other side of this rearrangement, they're going to look back at this moment with nothing but gratitude, because they'll understand what you're just beginning to see, that sometimes the most loving thing the universe can do is refuse to let you settle for less than the magic you came here to create. The rearrangement isn't random, it's intentional. It's not chaotic, it's choreographed. And you're not a victim of circumstance. You're a conscious creator stepping into the life you were always meant to live. Trust the process. The universe knows what it's doing. And so do you, even when it doesn't feel that way. Especially when it doesn't feel that way.